Hey guys, I'm Bree. This is my first video and I thought this was a fun Halloween look. Got a lot of embellishments, feathers, like a neat masquerade mask. So if you want to learn how to do this look, just stay tuned. What I did was I took a piece of paper and folded it in half and then drew the design that I wanted. And then you see if you fold it out, that's the design I put on. Now, it messed up on a couple areas, so I did have to fix it in a few areas. So it's not exactly perfect, but it really gives you a good idea of where to start. So it's kind of rough right now, but we're going to fill this in, we're going to fill this out. So let's get started. I'm going to use my MAC 190 foundation brush, and I'm going to use cream color base in black. Now, at my local MAC store, they don't have this, so I had to order this online. I don't know if your local MAC store will have it, but mine didn't. So I'm going to load up the brush with the product, and I'm just going to start filling in. Make sure to even cover the eye area as well. Now you can see I've got a lot of detail areas. I'm going to skip those for now and go over those with a smaller brush. So I'm just going to get the main area right now with my bigger 190 brush. This stuff covers really nice. And don't worry about this being wet because we're going to cover it in the end. This is just to give us a nice solid base that's going to have some stick to it. If you see things moving in the background, it's my cats. I'm going to get a Kleenex and go ahead and clean your brush, clean the black out of the brush now, because it's such a dark and pigmented color that it's going to be a lot harder to get out if you let it dry. So I'm just going to spray this down with some makeup brush cleaner and clean this out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just make sure you get the majority of the product out, because you don't want this to get in your brush where you have to spend hours cleaning it. Then what we're going to take is a smaller, the 194 concealer brush. This is really good to fill in your details. So let's start off with that one, still using the black cream color base. And you can see what you want to do is start in the very outside and work your way in. That way it blends nicely into the black, and if you kind of go out, sometimes you can go outside the line. So start from the outside and kind of go in because it's a little bit easier. Oh, and since I didn't mention it earlier, I started my outline with just a regular black eyeliner. Okay, now that I have all my details filled in, I have a few mistakes and a few fuzzy lines that I want to kind of sharpen up. So what I'm going to do, you can use a MAC brush that's close to this. I just have this, like, I don't know if you can see that really well, but I just have this little disposable eyelining brush. You can use any fine brush, just whatever is most comfortable for you. Just make sure that it has that nice flat top like this one. And what I'm going to do is take an eye makeup remover that's not the 2-layer eye makeup remover. The 2 layers are really good to take off like waterproof and long wearing makeup, but I like to use something like this Origins Well Off, or I like the Clinique Rinse Off eye makeup remover. And this stuff takes it off without leaving an oily residue, so this stuff's really nice. So what I'm going to do is kind of like tip it. I'll get it up here so you can see it. I'm going to tip it and just dip the end of the brush in that, kind of wipe the brush off a little bit. And then I'm going to take that around the outsides so it'll take off the places where it's not quite as sharp of a line as I want it to be. Then once you feel like you're getting a lot of the makeup remover on your skin, just take a Q-tip and kind of dry it back up. And this will also help get off any excess residue. But see, that really sharpened up my line. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Okay, I've got this cleaned up. I think this is pretty good. If not, I can always clean up later. So what I want to do next is apply the color on top of this cream color base. And if you notice at this point, around the eye area, you can kind of see it here, and underneath, if you're doing this, it's already going to start to be creasing because the cream color base is really creamy, and putting it on this thick is going to make it crease. Don't worry about it, just make sure to keep your 194 brush on hand, that way you can smooth it whenever you actually set it with the powder. Now the two colors that I'm going to use on this mask is going to be MAC Pigment, and this is Fuchsia. It's this really bright pink color. It's really pretty. And then I'm also going to use Violet MAC Pigment. I don't know, the light's kind of bright. Maybe if I block the light a little bit, you can kind of, I don't know, it's a bright purple. And what I want to do is start with a purple up here and gradient down to a pink. If you want to keep this kind of black mask to go with some kind of costume that you're going with, you can use Dark Soul Pigment. It'll give it like this real black kind of shimmery look, which would be really neat. Or if you wanted a more matte look to kind of keep it more matte like this, you could also use Carbon eyeshadow. You could also use Black Pigment. It's a pro color for MAC. But between the two, I would suggest the Carbon eyeshadow more, just because with pigments you do get a lot of fallout and it's kind of difficult to keep track of that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the bottom and I'm going to go to the top, because if you start from the top and go to the bottom, all the fallout that you might get is going to fall down onto this black and it's not going to stick with the other color you want as much. So what we're going to start, I'm going to have the purple on the top, I'm going to have the pink on the bottom. And I'm going to use my 217 MAC brush. This is a blender brush. Now, sometimes I switch between brushes to get how comfortable I am with it. If there's another brush that you'd like to use, that's perfectly fine, but try to keep the fluffiness of the brush, just because I find it goes on a lot smoother and easier with this kind of look. Sometimes I switch it between the MAC 222 brush, which has got like the dome top. And then whenever you want to do your details, like in these little areas here, it would be good to use the 219 pencil brush. So I'm going to start with my 217 and see how this feels. I'm going to start with the bottom, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and kind of do the middle. Go ahead and put it through the middle and then work my way down until I get to use the detail brushes. And then I'm going to do the same with the purple. I'm going to start with the purple towards the middle and then kind of go out. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the pigment with the 217 brush. What I want to do is kind of take it on the lid and kind of get it into the bristles a little bit because you want to avoid some fallout. So I'm going to kind of get in there, tap it off because you don't want too much fallout. And then instead of brushing it on, you want to pat it. So you're going to use like this motion here and pat that in there. Now you can kind of see I've got like a gradient line across my face. Next, what I'm going to do, clean off the brush a little bit to get that black out of it, is I'm going to start patting it down and just going down as far as I can before I have to start using a detail brush. And we're going to smooth this all out in a second.